Good afternoon, everyone. Just letting everyone come into the conference here. Give it another minute or so, let everybody settle in, and then we'll get started with this one. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ken Stigner, and I'd like to welcome you to NYSAPLS 63rd Annual Conference. Today's session is Diversity in Land Surveying. This course is not approved for credits, so this is not a accredited class towards your LS or PE license. But before we begin, I'd like to briefly review some of the items to follow for today's session. Today's program runs from 12:30 to 1:30. And please do not click out of the session. It's very easy to do that by accident. And I'll go talk about that a little bit more. When the session is over, we ask that you fill out the course evaluation, which is located on the left-hand part of your screen, just to evaluate the class, give your honest opinion as to how you liked it and what you'd like to see in the future. On the screen on the right side, you'll see 4 tabs. The chat tab is if you would like to ask the presenter a question. So please use that tab on the right side to type in your questions. There's a polls tab, but we will not be using that today. And there's also a files tab. I don't know, Ashley, if you've uploaded any files for this class. There aren't any, so don't worry about that. And then in the people's tab, you will see everyone who was signed in for this session. We strongly encourage you to chat and network with the other attendees, but please use extreme caution, because if you click on someone's name, you will be redirected to the attendee's bio and you'll be knocked out of the session. You'll have to relog back in. And that's the same for some of the other functions at the top of the screen. If you click on a lot of those functions, it will take you out of the session. So, you can communicate and chat with them during it by using the chat. That's the best way to communicate. And of course, if you experience any other technical difficulties, please use the Get Support button on the top left of your screen. Today's moderator is Ashley Metz. She's a survey technician at MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC. Ashley is currently a survey technician with the MJ Engineering and Land Surveying Company located in Clifton Park, New York. She is currently working towards acquiring her New York State Land Surveyor's license. Ashley is a graduate of the SUNY Ranger School, where she earned an associate's degree of surveying technology, and Siena College in Latham, New York, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in environmental studies. While attending college, Ashley was an intern with the Department of Environmental Conservation, the DEC that is, in Warrensburg, New York, and the Hudson River Black River Regulating District in Mayfield, New York. Both of these organizations provided Ashley with the opportunity to use her land surveying skills. Ashley is an avid sailor and enjoys participating in sailing regattas on Sacandaga Lake, located in the Adirondack Park in upstate New York. And now I'm going to turn everything over to our moderator. It's my pleasure to introduce Miss Ashley Metz. Ashley.
Hi, I wanted to welcome everybody here to our diversity panel that the Young Professionals Committee has decided to host this year. I'm a member of the Young Professionals Committee, and we're very excited to spread awareness using our panel here about land surveying and the diversity within it. Our goal for the panel is to increase awareness to the general public about land surveying, and we hope that by recognizing individuals that have participated in this panel, that they can find a path to land surveying as well. First off, after hosting last year's panel, I did have a lot of interesting conversations with land surveyors across New York State. And it opened my eyes to a couple things about land surveying that I thought was interesting. Number one was that land surveying was a much more diverse field than I ever thought it was in relationship to what we do as land surveyors. When I first started land surveying, I only did boundary surveys primarily. And then I came to find out that there was a lot more that we were capable of doing. And I think that's very interesting to think about when we think about the people in our industry as well, is that we're not just one type of person. We have lots of people and they all have individual interests and things along those lines. And so I thought it would be interesting to bring everyone together from across the field and just have them talk about their stories, ask them a couple questions related to diversity, just to get a better understanding of what diversity is, how it's represented in land surveying, and how we could boost it and how that could be a positive for our industry. But first, I'm going to talk to our panelists. I've got a couple questions for them, and I'm sure you do as well. So if you do have questions, please be sure to throw them in the chat box. I'll get to them. If I can, I'll throw them right into our presentation here, or at the very end, I'll ask your questions that you may have. But without further ado, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with Dannielle.
Hi, Ashley. My name is Dannielle Buckley. I am currently a survey technician or a senior survey technician at Control Point Associates in their Southborough, Massachusetts office. Yeah, that's. Do I need a background on myself and getting into surveying?
Sure. Sure. A little bit.
Gotcha. I got into surveying because my grandfather is a surveyor, and I feel like family kind of followed, and yep, that's how I got into this.
Excellent. Excellent. Jason, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Jason Peterson. I'm the owner of Bethlehem Land Surveying. I've owned my own business since 2012. I got into land surveying just by happenstance. I kind of stumbled into it. Somebody asked me if I wanted to be a rod person at a survey company, and I didn't know what it was. I applied, and lo and behold, everything that I had learned in the Marine Corps Infantry transferred perfectly. So coordinates, maps, compasses, it all transferred perfectly, and I've been surveying ever since 1996.
Very good. Very good. And Bony, would you mind introducing yourself?
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Bony Dawood. I'm actually a professional engineer by trade. I am the president and founder of Dawood Engineering, celebrating 30 years in business, so we've been around for a while. We've been providing surveying services probably for the last 29 years in various regions. Surveying, I always joke around and saying, the engineer walks in the door and surveyor walks in the door. I'd always hire the surveyor first because it's hard to find good surveyors. But we've surveying has been very important for the company. It's still probably a third of our operations is pure surveying. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk about diversity. I actually sit on the diversity board. I was on the diversity board in Pennsylvania. Minority-owned company, been active in the diversity councils in different parts of the country. And it's just my understanding of diversity has changed and evolved over the time too. So I do appreciate the opportunity to have that discussion.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I think we're going to start off with an easy question, and I think it might be the most basic question that there could be, but I do think that it's important for us to talk about and just get a basic understanding of what has helped you get to where you are as a land surveyor, and what advice would you give to others who would set off into a similar direction? Jason, I'm going to start with you. I know you come from a military background, and you did discuss about how that was a benefit to you to go right from service into land surveying. Can you speak to this question?
Sure. I've actually had a lot of time to sit around and look back on how many different paths I took and which path would have led me to a particular position in my life. And I actually recall taking almost a placement test type thing in high school that actually said that I was qualified to, work in the construction field outside. But none of the examples were actually land surveying. So, looking back on it now, I'm just like, oh, that was pretty spot on. But as far as getting me to where I am now, I would actually have to compliment every mentor that I've had along the way. People that, my early party chiefs who themselves got licensed later on. Other professionals that I worked underneath, people that made me want to be better in any aspect that I thought that I was deficient in, whether it be my field notes or my land records research, putting a traverse point in the ground and why I chose that particular position. So I just have to compliment every professional that I worked under, and then all my early party chiefs. They really pushed me and kept me going and let me know that, when I thought I wasn't qualified to, say, apply for my license, they're the ones that gave me the knowledge, pointed me in the directions of publications, or pushed me to go to conferences and sign up for classes. So pretty much experienced mentors, I would credit, almost at least 90% of where I'm at now.
Very good. And what would you say to people who are looking to go down into land surveying as a field, just as a bit of advice?
I guess my advice would be, don't discount anything that you may learn along the way. There's actually a lot of value in how not to do things just as much as how to do things. So everything that you're going to learn from somebody, don't discount it. Give it its own weight, catalog it, and take their advice. They've been around, they know. So and it may not be the most perfect way, but at least they know how they've been doing it, and you can tweak it, incorporate it into your own routines. But definitely listen to the people that you work under.
Absolutely. Dannielle, same question to you. What has helped get to where you are today, and what advice would you give to others to get where they want to be?
Sure. So my grandfather really encouraged me to go to school for surveying, because he knew there was only so much that he could teach me. Similar to you, most of his work was small residential, or like residential and boundary surveys. And he knew that there was so much more outside of that because of all the experience that he had. So he really encouraged me to go to school to learn about the things that he couldn't teach me, or maybe couldn't explain well enough. Also, he encouraged me to work for several different companies so that I could find things that I liked, and also to be more well-rounded, I would say. Yeah.
Excellent. And would you say that I mean, that's perfect to go for? Would you say that would be good advice for somebody going forward trying to get into surveying?
I would say if they find surveying early enough, I would say go to school, because I think there's a little bit more patience while you're going to school. But I know that a lot of people get into surveying at an older age, whether it's through like construction, or they just so happen to come across a job posting. They're like, oh, this sounds interesting. I definitely think that you can learn a lot through the experience route alone. So I would say that if you're older, it's completely fine. getting as much experience as you can. And there's so many different skill sets in surveying that if there's one thing you don't really like, I can almost guarantee you will find something that you do like.
I really like that last part. I really like that. Bony, same question to you. How did you get where you are today? And if you had anything to tell people trying to get into the same situation, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say, the growth of the company and surveying really go hand in hand. Surveying was a core service that really helped everything that we do. And I would say I was fortunate to know a lot of great surveyors through the course of the business. But early on, as I worked with projects and understanding the value of surveying was really benefited me in growing the business, because everything that we do, whether it's transportation, whether it's real estate, whether it's oil and gas, utilities, quality of survey, the value of having good surveys was really helped us separate ourselves in terms of understanding the value of projects. And I think that's always benefited the growth of the company in terms of how we ingrained that into our operations and how we identified what we thought a good survey, and we built a lot of business because people knew we could deliver. So, for example, I'm here at the New York conference because Kevin Hanley from SMC joined Dawood in 2018 and based out of Braintree, and really a go-to surveying firm that really attracted our attention to him because of the quality of survey that was done. So, as an organization, we enjoy surveying. We have a lot of respect for the profession, and I think that's a culture. And I think hopefully it's something that we try to ingrain in our staff. But I think so for us as an engineering company, you don't see a lot of engineering companies that do the volume of surveying we do. And but I think it's something that we have. It's really part and parcel of who we are. Surveying, and I think that's I think it's a profession, and we talk to a lot of young individuals, and try and encourage them to get into surveying. If you enjoy being out in the field, you have technical aptitude. The challenge I have a lot of times is, where do you send them to get the education? I mean, they can do a lot of internships, but it seems that less and less programs out there, and it's hard finding them areas for them to send them to get the proper educational background.
Very good. Very good. Well, I think a lot of those answers had some similarities. There is a common theme throughout that education is important. And I think that's a really good takeaway from that. Diversity has become a bit of a hot topic to speak about. And it was a bit nerve-wracking when I was asked to host a diversity panel. I didn't really know how to make that inclusive, but I think it's important to talk about. And I want to start off with asking a question about, what are the long-term consequences if we ignore diversity and inclusion? Dannielle, I'll start with you.
I think diversity and inclusion is really important, and it's something that I haven't had a conversation with a lot of people about. And some issues that we can definitely run into could be tension in the office, or tension between coworkers. Due to that, you can lose productivity. And I also think that there are certain things that different people can bring to the table. And we might be missing out on that.
Very good. Bony, same question to you.
Diversity and impact of us understanding diversity in the future, I think is pretty significant. I would say being having a minority-owned business, and I kept kind of learning more about diversity. And actually, someone invited me to a diversity conference about 15 years ago, and really understanding why we do what we do, and do we understand diversity. And for me, I learn a lot and keep learning. but I realize it's also a mindset and understanding. And I think in 2040, I think the minorities will be the majority in the US. I think the year they select was 2040 with the population growth in the area. So the environment you're working in, the population base, the workforce base, is going to be a diverse work, to understand that. Diversity, so understanding diversity, understanding we'd have to have diverse workforce, we're going to have diverse clients that we serve, is part of the growth of the country and what we do. Diversity also, for us, diversity, and we define diversity as same as we do with safety and quality, as key tenets of the company. Everybody talks about quality, everybody talks about safety, but we put diversity up there as one of those key tenets of who we are.
And Jason, same question to you.
I guess my answer is pretty much going to dovetail on both Dannielle and Bony, because I mean, I'm a small company, so being diverse, I'm limited on who's applying. Do I have any positions open? But having a daughter of she's 20 and seeing an entirely different mindset and how ever evolving the definitions of things that were black and white when I was her age, gender, identity, pronouns. These are all things that I've had to play catch up on, and I think that one of the things, if we don't keep up, we're going to miss out on being able to employ some very able-bodied people. And like everybody's saying, there's tolerance in the workplace. How do we basically mold our office to make it more accommodating to how diverse people actually can be? And what does that even mean? The potential is just so many things are moving at a rapid rate, and I feel like I'm always playing catch up with this particular subject, is how diverse can I be?
Very good. It's interesting to think about that aspect of it. But leading from that, what's the most common mistake in an organization's thinking about diversity? Bony, we'll start with you.
I think one of the things about diversity is, I think it's just not, diversity comes to everything from possibly even the food you eat, the variety of foods that are eaten. It's really touches in a lot of different areas about people going outside the box in terms of understanding things that are different, whether it's religion, whether it's cultures. And I think that's the part about diversity. It's a very broad topic. And people understand they're going to be exposed to those broad things, and there should be a comfort level because it's going to be something they should not shy away from. And so there has to be an understanding that diversity is a very broad topic, and it's a topic you should engage in. It shouldn't be forced on you, just should be engaged in, so there's an understanding of those differences out there. And so I think it's something, even personally, on a personal level, when I start understanding more about diversity, I started looking internally at the company in terms of how diverse is my workforce. I look back and I was wondering, we're a minority-owned company, do we have a diverse workforce? And it's just a matter of insight and just a different lens you look through.
Very good. Very good. Dannielle, same question.
So I think the biggest mistake that we're probably making is not having the conversation. Or maybe I'm just not part of that conversation yet. But I haven't really had these conversations with my employers, or it's not something that we often think about. I mean, outside of surveying, I don't think I think a lot of organizations are possibly thinking like, oh, how can we meet this quota? But bringing that back to surveying is, we already have a limited pool of people that are interested in surveying. So it's a tough issue. Maybe it's possibly opening up roles, but for more entry-level roles so that people could see, hey, look, there is a place for me at this company.
Very good. Yeah, it is interesting to think about not, if you're not having that conversation, that is obviously your biggest problem. Jason, same question to you. What's the most common mistake in an organization's thinking about diversity?
I would have to say that organization thinking that they are diverse enough. I mean, I've worked for companies, and although the larger companies have had women, had people of color. I'm not up on anybody's religions at those organizations, but in the survey field, and obviously Ashley and Dannielle probably could testify that there aren't a lot of women in the land surveying profession. At least the ratio is a little bit tilted towards men. I experienced it as a field person. I worked at one company that had one woman, and it's something that I always took notice of. So thinking that they're diverse enough is probably the largest mistake. Not being flexible enough to so that there is more diversity.
That's a good answer. It's an important, and I think this is what we're all getting at, it's important for an organization to recognize that diversity has a role in the workplace, but it's also important for individuals to recognize that it is important as well. The next question leads into that, and it is, how would you advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion within the workplace to colleagues who don't understand its importance? Jason, I'll start with you.
Boy, I hate to talk about mandates these days, but that's a really good question. You'd probably have to reach out to an outside source for training. I would recommend something like that to talk about exactly what we're talking about now. What is diversity? How many different categories inside the canopy of diversity are there? And these are people that are going to be, graduating high school or college and trying to find a position. And you certainly don't want to exclude anybody, especially in land surveying right now, where we're having a really difficult time finding knowledgeable and dependable employees. So you certainly wouldn't want to go ahead and limit your choices.
Very good. Bony, same question to you.
Great. Yeah, I think as I mentioned earlier, the diversity culture within a company, I think it starts from the management team on down. That diversity is very important to the company. So what we did, and we started a couple of years ago when diversity really became front and center, we actually created a diversity committee within the company just to engage more people within the company into diversity, having discussions. We actually set up a diversity scholarship for STEM to encourage younger kids to get into technical fields of, in a diverse population base to reach out, to give opportunities. We set up a diversity calendar that's on the internal webpage, just talking about different holidays through the year or different things that, as I mentioned, it's a very broad topic. So I think it's an organizational issue in terms of them understanding that it is important to the company. And if they feel that it's more than just a conversation, that the company is really taking steps to try to do something, it's not going to be one it's just a culture. It's a cultural issue. So to me, it's important to us, and we let people know it's important to us. It's just, you have to respect other employees within the company. You got to respect diversity, encourage a diverse workforce, and it's just the way everything is heading.
Very good. Yeah, I like that idea of the, supporting culture within the culture of the company. Dannielle, same question to you.
So I think, like Bonnie was saying, it's such a broad topic. But with it being such a broad topic, maybe we need to be asking simpler questions, like how would it feel like to be in a place where you're not included? Or is my workplace treating me as an equal? Do I feel left out professionally or socially? There's definitely simple questions that we can be asking ourselves and to others, just to try to see like where we're falling through the cracks. How maybe finding places where like characteristics that we can find pattern wise to where we're not including people, and that kind of can open our eyes to where like where we can improve on as better coworkers, better leaders, better people.
I like that. There's definitely difficulties that come with incorporating individuals from all walks of life into one organization. And I think it's important that we help bridge that gap between the individuals. What are some specific ways that you've advocated for change and the successes that those changes have had? Bony, can we start with you?
I think, and this is, I think it's really the STEM, engineering and surveying both. There are a lot of great kids coming out of school that really getting to them earlier and then understanding the professions out there, especially the technical professions, and the surveying I would say being one that there has to be an understanding of what surveying is at an earlier stage. So they know the path, they know the opportunities, they know the traditions behind surveying, the importance of surveying, how it's critical for every aspect, the technology that's evolving rapidly in the surveying fields. I think there really has to be a stronger movement in getting to a younger population, so they can at least start identifying that as a strong career path. And I think it's something that so we've been engaging more at the high school level, any opportunities and a lot of internships and allowing them to come in the office and spend time. But there were some training sessions for some kids over the summertime that we went in and gave presentations to. But I really feel that needs to be done at a more robust pace than sort of once in a while here. And I think it has to be done at a more organized, deliberate pace to get the information out to a younger population, that there's options out there, strong and great options for a career path.
Very good. Yeah, I like that. It's definitely something that at the Young Professionals Committee that we've talked about, is definitely getting the word out there about land surveying at the college or high school level. I think that's very important. Jason, the same question to you. What are some specific ways that you can advocate for change, and what are the successes that you've had?
Well, mine has been pretty specific as far as a veteran outreach program that I started when I first launched my business, which I called it Soldiers to Surveyors. But it was basically an outreach program to let veterans know that there are options out there, and this may be an easy transition for you where you don't have to be a police officer, or you don't have to go to the UPS or work for the state or whatever. Not that working for the state's bad, but just letting them know that land surveying exists, taking some of those skills that they learned in the military and get them to be able to basically harness them and direct them towards land surveying. So as far as outreach goes, like Bony was saying, reaching out to at the high school level, I've often thought that reaching out to math teachers or even the vocational teachers as some sort of program to reach in and ask the kids who don't think that they're ever going to use math again, show them that you'll need this, and it's a lot easier if you learn it now than it is applying for your license and then having to purchase the textbooks and teach yourself.
Very good. Very good. I do like that, soldiers to surveyors. I think that's a really good one. Dannielle, the same thing for you.
So I've probably advocated on a smaller level. I have two younger sisters, and so typically when kids are younger, they ask a lot of questions. And so when they have friends come over and they're like, oh, like, what do you do while you got all this equipment and stuff like that? So I think it really is just exposing people to surveying. So when I had my sister's friend ask about college, I kind of said, this is what I went to college for. These are kind of the things I've learned. Also, when I was at college, I had a lot of people in different majors, like the construction management major, where they took a surveying class, but they were a little bit more interested in about the, like, what the job would entail. So I just tried to let people know what I did, and I encourage everybody to take a look into it if they are interested.
I like that. I like that a lot. I know for, everybody in our industry, it can be a bit difficult just to get out there and talk about land surveying to anybody who will listen, but I think that's a really important thing to try and do, because it's the only way that we're gonna really bring people to land surveying. And all of these outreaches and opportunities that you have all had are really uplifting to hear. And there's positives to focusing on diversity when you think of employees. What are some outcomes that your organization has seen from diversity initiatives or best practices? Dannielle, we'll start with you.
Sure. I don't think I've ever been in a place where I was ever treated differently, or I haven't seen people. How do I say it? Sorry. But like, because it was never a question, I don't think that anybody ever treated anybody differently for their background or their ethnicity or gender. So I haven't really seen too many issues inside the workplace. I think for the most part, surveyors are pretty friendly to each other, and they appreciate the fact that they have people that are willing to learn.
Very good. Yeah, I think if you're willing to learn, land surveyors will take anyone. Bony, same question to you.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned earlier, I think it's when we're servicing a diverse population, and we have to be, I would say, we're going to have a diverse workforce, and the challenges that we have, and if we don't understand that aspect of it, it's going to be troubling. Because one thing, as a growing a business, engineering and surveying are very traditional fields, and I think that and it is change is occurring. There's not enough kids, diverse kids getting involved in those fields, so it's a challenge there. But it's changing rapidly. We're working in environments that are more diverse, So it's just for the safety of the workforce, to understand some of the challenges and different environments they're working in, the respect in different environments. Just that whole communications and understanding, I think, is really going to be important for all the companies going forward. And that's, I think it's just the environment we're in, just that you're actively engaged and growing and knowledge base and as a culture in those environments will help us serve our clients better.
I like that idea. I like that idea. Jason, same question. How or what outcomes has your organization realized from diverse initiatives or best practices?
Honestly, for me, I think that there are a lot of stereotypes or just an expectation of what a surveyor looks like or acts like. Nobody would know this except for a handful of people that are probably logged on here, is that I had dreadlocks from 2012 to 2018. And I received a different amount of professionalism over the phone than I did in person, because it's not who they expected to be showing up or be part of their meeting. While at the same time, I also had a woman party chief who received a different level of respect depending on whose door they knocked on. If it was a woman who answered the door, very appreciative that I would hire a woman to be part of this, and we need more women. Well, at the same time, on the construction site, she wouldn't receive the same respect because there was an implication that she may not know as much as the man, or assume that she wasn't the one in charge. So there are still a lot of barriers there as far as the public's perception of who's capable and who's not.
Very good. It does seem that when you introduce diversity into your company, that you're able to first off, be recognized for that, which is important. And then both you have the understanding from that individual of their culture or their view on the world, that you can better go out and serve individuals from that community better, because you have a better understanding of them. Land surveying is a career that is open to everyone, and it's a good option for everyone. It's a fulfilling job, and it can directly impact the community in a positive way. The purpose of today's panel was to show individuals from a diverse background that becoming a land surveyor is a viable option. And this was just one way of trying to reach out to the general public to promote land surveying. What are some other creative ways that we can proactively source candidates from underrepresented communities? Dannielle, we'll start with you.
I wouldn't even say this from a diverse standpoint, but I think we need to be advertising that there are positions open. I see time and time again that we really need help, we need more employees, but there are only so many postings online or on LinkedIn or even Googling surveying positions near me. I would probably say it's lacking. So if there are positions out there, to advertise them instead of just by word of mouth, because then you're just fishing in the same pool versus going out there and finding new people.
Very good. Yeah, it's definitely there. The workforce is there. We just have to find out how we can connect with them. Bony, same question to you. How can we reach underrepresented communities?
Yeah, one of the areas, I mean, when we started having I would say, more robust diversity discussion internally, even in our HR group, you know, we're very traditional. We're both engineering, sort of very traditional field, so we seem to follow and do the same things year after year. And we see hiring from the same colleges, going back to the same colleges. I think you have to start looking at other colleges and in the larger schools that might have more of a diverse population base. You should be going looking at other areas that you didn't look at before for recruiting purposes, and also spreading the word about opportunities. So I think it's an effort that you change the way you've been doing things in the past to open up the net to places that you've not touched before, because I think to some degree we all have to do that, because there's a lot of work out there and we're not going to be able to meet all the needs of industry unless we bring in more people into our workforces in the technical areas of surveying and engineering. And I think it's very important for us to do that.
Very good. Jason, we're going to pass it to you here, but I'm quickly going to call out to everybody in the chat that if you do have any questions that you'd like answered from any of our panelists, and I'll include myself on that, to please throw it in the chat, and we'll be sure to answer those questions. Jason, same question.
Ashley, can you see the chats that I've posted in the chat box on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure they're not really questions, they're more comments, but they're probably worth noting at some point. Thank you.
I will do that. Thank you. Jason, same question. What are some creative ways to source candidates from underrepresented communities?
Yeah, I think that we definitely need to be more diverse in how we look for candidates for our positions. With all the new technologies in every department that would fall under a land surveying company, drones, LiDAR, boats, monitoring the railroads, the conventional survey methods, all of the advancements in technology. It's not just being outside, it's also, look to a Parsons graduate who would normally be in the fashion industry, may also be an excellent CAD drafts person. So yeah, being very creative and the directions that we look for people is probably very, very important.
Excellent. Excellent. It does look like we had, like Ken pointed out, a statement that we can develop here. So to develop diversity in our profession, we must look to be more diverse in the services and skills sets that we offer as a land surveying firm. We can attract more diverse people when we break the paradigm of doing just land surveys. I think that is a very good statement. And I do agree with it. I think that's something that we have touched on here throughout our conversations. When I first thought about how to cover diversity in a panel discussion, I was hoping to reach everyone across, our field, whether it be people from the military or women, because there's lots of diverse people who can do our job. But we do think of land surveying as just walking out into the field, doing a survey, coming back into the office and doing paperwork. But there's a lot more to it. And I think that we could definitely promote land surveying as a diverse group. We can take every person from every walk of life and be able to fit them into land surveying somewhere. I do think that the point that you made, Bony, that we're a very wide, diverse group is a good point. And I was wondering if you could expand upon your company's diversity plan. Do you actively look for people of diversity, or do you actively look to bring in people of diversity? I guess I should word that question better. Do you, when you put out a application, do you look for somebody specifically, or do you look through who has come to you to work for you?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And as mentioned before, I was fortunate enough to be sitting on a diversity council in Easter, which handled everything from Pittsburgh to New Jersey, and then was active in some of the diversity councils down in Houston, and was exposed to a lot of diverse companies, and some of the mindsets with diversity. So as a company, we started, even on teaming, when we look for partnerships to pursue projects, whether there was diverse companies we could partner with as part of our normal, pursuing an opportunity, and sort of expanded our net in terms of other firms that are out there that we haven't worked with in the past that we can bring in to the fold. In terms of employees, we started looking at other universities. There are some more diverse universities out there that have technical programs, try to identify those schools that we could go after. So there are some universities out there. Some don't provide a lot of technical degrees. So, even that, it's sort of sorting through where can we find the universities that are developing technical kids that have a higher diverse population. So we did actively start asking around and reaching out. So I think it's just a matter of intentions. I think there may not be a solution right away, but it's just a matter of intentions of thinking outside the box to try to address those needs. And I think it is. I think in any engineering surveying field, there's just a lack of students everywhere. so I think it makes it twice as hard. But so I think we've expressed it to our HR department that's important to us. And we're based in Pennsylvania. We're headquarters in Pennsylvania, so we've got a lot of Penn State grads working for us. But have you gone to other schools? Have we gone to some of the other schools in the Ohio States of the world? Have we gone to Pitt? Have we gone to Temple? Areas where there's more diverse populations, where you may have more diverse graduates. And so encouraging the HR department to look outside traditional areas to try to see what other kids are graduating out there, and so it's not done with a specific target other than just a purposeful discussion to say, how can we expand our net?
Very good. I like that. Jason, you had talked about your Soldiers to Surveyors initiative. And I personally, when I first started thinking of a panel, it was the very first thing that jumped to my mind was I want to talk to somebody who came from a military background, because I think it is such a great opportunity to incorporate our soldiers into our workforce. And I was wondering if you could expand on your experience with that transition or your initiative that you had started. I'd like to hear some more.
Sure. So, well, for me, I was every Marine is a basic rifleman, but then they go into their specialty schools. So at the basic level, there's knowledge of compasses and coordinates and map reading. For me, I went on into the infantry and became a radio operator. So I use those skills more, and being attached to a commanding officer, you learn a different set of skills because you're more interacting with the officers. So your communication, your management, but specifically the coordinate values, the calculations, doing resections. Those were all things that I did that I had no idea transferred outside of the military. And so when I owned my own business, it actually had always been on my mind as far as helping people transition and find that there is a different path that they could take. It was one of the first things that I wanted to do when I started my business, was immediately reach out to the VFWs, the Legion posts, and the VA. So I had actually launched it at a local VFW. Were surveying their property and had their members come along with me, which 2 of them decided they would want to pursue it, and I took them out into the field on other projects. Unfortunately, due to their disabilities, they couldn't pursue land surveying because it was going to conflict with the percentage that they were going to get. If they're receiving a certain amount of disability for a particular ailment, land surveying can be seen as something that would exacerbate that. So there was that little bit of a minefield to navigate, for lack of a better term. But with drones and everything coming on more and more, the possibilities of drone operators being pulled into the profession is a particular position that I would like to explore further. That is for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a very good point about, being able to work with the individual, whether it be their disability or just the situation they're in, is that land surveying really can be purpose built to an individual. I know, if you, in the most severe case, a wheelchair bound person, if they have an interest in CAD, any surveyor would be happy to have somebody come in and just do CAD work for them.
Sure.
So
Ashley, I just want to remind you, we have just about 5 minutes left. So just so you're aware of the time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think that it's definitely, land surveying is not a limiting profession, because we can find a place for anybody. I think I had another question here, or just a couple of points here. An Earn While You Learn program are working for the county fire departments and EMS services, and they work directly with high schools. It looks like if we were to bring people in straight from high school, that we could implement something to earn credit towards your land surveying degree, or land surveying professional certification would work.
Those are actually independent comments. The first one is Earn While You Learn programs are working for the city's fire department and EMS services. And then another post was that we should be recruiting directly from high schools, and then people expanded on those. So those are like comments on comments that I've posted there.
Right. I do see also that the YP committee has a post up here for us saying that the committee is working towards building a pathway for high school students to earn credits and money while they work part-time with land surveyors there. But I have a question for you, Dannielle. I know we had talked a little bit at our little YP social gathering, and that was for your generational land surveying. Do you think, and I've seen a couple chats here that, bring your kids to work, make sure you introduce your kids to land surveying at a young age. Do you think that definitely, I mean, obviously you're a land surveyor now, but do you think that definitely impacted you into becoming a land surveyor, or is it something that it made an impact, but it didn't really have that much of a force into getting you into land surveying, having your father and grandfather as a land surveyor?
I definitely think that my family being in surveying did really push me into the direction of being a surveyor. Although my uncle and dad constantly joked, "Oh, don't be a surveyor. It's not easy." But being around them and getting dragged to go to work, you're able to make mistakes or gain confidence at such a young age that when you do get older, you're like, hey, like I'm not too bad at this, and you have the time in working. So I think that having experience at a young age really does drive you to look at what you're good at. And I think that I had enough time to get good enough in certain things. And then again, I just kept wanting to learn more. So that's what I continue to strive for. Just keep learning.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely think that even though we've all traveled different roads to becoming land surveyors, or in my case, working towards becoming a land surveyor, I hope that these conversations that we've had today have helped to open everyone's mind to land surveying and the diversity within it and how we can promote it better. Like I said, last year it was very eye-opening. Throughout the last year, I was able to talk to different people, and a common thread throughout all of our conversations was the need for good, young, intelligent people to come into land surveying. And I think that it's very good that we can broaden our horizons and pull from every community. And I think that's important to take going forward, to go out and to take that chance. Panels like this are a really good opportunity to start conversations between land surveyors, just on your own. Just have a talk about, who you're hiring, and how you can better hire individuals from different communities. And I wanted to say thank you for everyone who came to this panel. And I hope on behalf of the Young Professionals Committee, that you have a good rest of your committee, or a good rest of your conference, and a successful 2022.
Thank you very much. This was a great discussion. I thank you very much to the panelists and the attendees for all their great comments. There was a lot of great discussion going on there in the background on the chat box. And as Ashley said, enjoy the rest of the conference. There's not much left. So thank you all for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Trevor, I'm not seeing the stop button. I don't know where it went.
I've got it on my side. I can go ahead and
Where is it though? Why am I?
it's usually down in the bottom right.
That's I see the leave button.
Oh, for ending the recording?
Yeah, where's the one to end, to stop it, to stop the
Top left.
huh? I'm not getting it. That's all right. You can stop the session, right?
Yes.